Hey, what's up you guys, it's me Luke and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary and critique and reaction videos on basically anything on the internet that interests me. So if any of that interests you, then be sure to go ahead and subscribe and turn on the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload from me. Alrighty guys, so today's video is a little bit different. It's not really one that I was planning on doing at all, but when the first episode of Instant Influencer, James Charles's new reality show with YouTube Originals came out, I got a lot of DMs and comments of people asking me to make a video reacting / giving my commentary on the show. However, I watched the first episode and I didn't really feel like there was much for me to speak on. There wasn't a lot of drama, I didn't really have many critiques, so I just wasn't really sure what I would really give my commentary on. However, when that second episode came out, I felt like there was a lot more in that episode and a lot more that I could possibly speak about, give a critique on, give my opinion on. And then after that, I went and watched the first episode for a second time and realized that there was actually a lot more that I could speak about. I've taken a couple notes here. Basically, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on the series as a whole and then specific points within the episode. It's not so much going to be like a recap per se. If you would like that, however, Hannah from Smoky Glow has done a recap for each episode and I really loved her videos. They're super enjoyable and she's much more knowledgeable when it comes to makeup than I am, obviously. So I highly recommend you check out her videos. I will link her channel down below for you to check out. And yeah, today I'm going to be speaking more so about the entertainment side of it, the influencer side of it, and just my general critiques and opinions of the show. So yeah, let me know if you enjoy this and if you want me to do the next episodes. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it because I'm about to dive in to episode 1 and 2 of Instant Influencer. Alrighty, so before we even get into it, a couple months ago, James Charles announced that he was planning on doing a makeup reality show. Now, I really did not know what to expect out of this. He said he was doing it with YouTube Originals, and I was very skeptical because we've seen a lot of influencers try break out and do new things, like Lily Singh with her late night show, and all those YouTubers who do their TV shows and stuff on YouTube, and more often than not, it's usually really cringy, and basically, let's just say that my expectations were not very high. However, I do respect James Charles in the sense that he is really smart when it comes to entertainment and business, and he's young, he's hip, he's with the kids, he knows what people like. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt with the show when it was all about bringing up the next influencer and how they were doing auditions for all these small MUAs on YouTube to have the opportunity to go on a reality show, and I thought this would be kind of a cool, interesting thing. And then I kind of forgot about it because this was like last year and obviously they would have had to pick the people and film it and really didn't hear much about it until April when the show started airing on YouTube Originals, and it is airing for free, which I think is really, really great. I'm not sure if they'll do that for the next couple seasons or not. I mean, the show looks like it has a really high budget. They don't have any sponsorships. However, there is always a bit of a logo at the bottom that says that there's paid product placement in the reality show. So I'm assuming that's how they're making most of their money, along with, you know, whatever AdSense they get from it. But yeah, I hope that the second season is going to be, if there even is a second season, is going to be free as well. But I'm not entirely sure about that yet because one of my many critiques about the show is how short it's going to be. There's been word that it's going to be only 4 episodes long and we're already halfway through and there's only 6 contestants and 2 have already gone home. So I feel like it's a little too short. I don't feel like it's long enough for us to really get invested in it or to really enjoy or create some sort of storyline. So in the first episode when they were introducing the contestants, which we'll get into it in a little bit, they all did have a backstory to them. So, you know, that's what they do with a lot of reality shows. Like the only thing I can kind of compare it to is RuPaul's Drag Race because I feel like that's the reality show that this is the most similar to. And in reality shows like that, the contestants, especially in the later half of the season, typically have a backstory and you get to know them and you get invested and you have these different storylines. However, I don't think that's really possible with a show that is as short as this one. So them saying their background and their story, well, that is interesting. It didn't come up again in episode 2 and I don't know if it's going to come up again because there isn't really much time for us to fully get to know the contestants or to hear more about their background or for it to kind of weave together to make some sort of storyline, if that makes sense. But another critique that I have and a lot of people have is the lack of diversity on the show. Now the show is diverse to a certain extent. It has 3 boys and 3 girls and you know it has various different skin tones. We have Ashley who is of a darker skin tone and then we have 2 Caucasians or white people, which is Kailyn and Benny, and then we have 3 Hispanics, although 2 of them are light skin. And then, you know, they don't have any Asian MUAs or they don't have any Indian MUAs or they don't have like really, really dark complexions. So I do understand why there is a critique in terms of lack of diversity. But on the other hand, I think they did as best as they could with only having 6 contestants. Yes, it's important to have diversity, but I think it's also important that they chose MUAs who would be the most interesting on the show regardless of their gender or race. However, I think if they had had more contestants, they would have been a better opportunity to have more diversity in the show. So while I do understand some people's critique, I do think some people are being a little bit too hard on the show, especially considering the circumstances that I just mentioned. Now, James Charles as a host in the show is really good most of the time. However, the beginning of the show started off on a really awkward, cringy note. It was him like walking through the set doing this whole like, who's going to be the next instant influencer, this and that, and you can obviously tell this just isn't natural to him, and it was kind of cringy and awkward. But then when the show actually happened, I was like, whoa, like this is really big, it's really high production, and I really enjoyed it. But I just don't think that they started off on a really good note. So the premise of the show is pretty much like any other reality competition show like RuPaul's Drag Race, where you have contestants and they have a mini challenge, and whoever wins the mini challenge gets an advantage in the main challenge, and whoever loses the main challenge gets sent home. They don't really have any prizes or anything for whoever wins the main challenges in this. I'm not sure if maybe they consider that towards the end of the competition. They consider how many main challenges you've won, but for now you don't really get any benefit from it that we can see. But if you lose, you obviously get sent home. So it's kind of just a standard format, and the show's focus is on being an influencer, a beauty influencer. Now the first challenge, they just walked in already with their makeup already done, kind of like how in RuPaul's Drag Race they already walk in drag. So it was kind of like that. And then James Charles gave a critique of their makeup looks. Their makeup looks were supposed to be a representation of who they were. I will say all of them, par Brittany, did really interesting, unique looks. Brittany's look was a little flat compared to the others. However, I do remember watching a video on her channel, and she was speaking about how she was going through a lot during that period of time when the competition was starting. Anyway, so Ashley is the person who wins the first challenge, which I totally agree with that one. I thought her look was the most interesting. I really loved it. I thought it was super out of the box. Some of the other looks, like Benny did this kind of mountainscape on his forehead. It was cool, but I've seen that a million times on Instagram before, so I wasn't that impressed by it. Kailyn's was interesting. I really liked Indigo's, how he had kind of that mask thingy that he took off and then you had an orchid on his face. I thought that was really interesting. I did like Gabriel's, although it didn't make a lot of sense how he was like, oh, I've got the bones for the animals and this for the earth and this. And like James said, it didn't really explain who he was as a person, so I don't think he really understood what the challenge was. Something else though is I think James as a judge is really good because he gives a critique to every single person, and he also gives a compliment to every single person. And I think that's really nice because even though some obviously do better than others in the challenges, he still gives them like an equal amount of critiques and positive notes, if that makes sense. He gives you like a compliment sandwich. You know, you give a compliment, you give a critique, you give a compliment. It's just a nice way to package it up and pop it off to someone. So I did think that was really, really good of him. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't shy away from giving constructive criticism. Some people were apparently criticizing him, saying he was being mean. To that I say, have you ever watched a reality show? Like, he's literally just being a judge. That's the entire point of the show. So I was a little bit confused with that, but anyway. So then James goes ahead and announces what the prizes of the show are. The first one being a huge studio setup for their videos, like what James has, which is worth around $10,000. That's obviously amazing. And then they also get $50,000, which is cool as well. We all love that shmoney. And then they get a collab on James's channel with him. I mean, they're already on his channel, but I think maybe it'll be different because then it'll be like a full video with them, so you'll get to know them more. So I do think that is cool as well. So yeah, I think the prizes are really great for what the show is. I think it's really nice, and I think they get a lot of exposure on the show, and everybody who went on the show was a pretty small MUA from what I can tell. A few people were a bit more established, but I think it's really great that James and all of them are giving them all these opportunities. So anyway, moving on to the main challenge. So what they had to do for the main challenge was film and edit a product reveal video in 3 hours. So like I said, Ashley got to choose her product first, and then the rest got to choose theirs. Just a few notes is Gabriel chose James Charles's palette, which I thought was really stupid. Honestly, I really don't like it in reality shows where people try and kiss the asses of judges. Like, that's literally what it just seemed like to me, and I thought it was a stupid choice because revealing a palette is a lot more complicated than just revealing one product. I really liked Kailyn's idea of like doing a full face with a sponge. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about those. Now, in terms of the challenge, I thought it was good and bad. I thought it was good in the sense that obviously as an influencer, you know, you've got to sell products. That's part of it. That's part of the gig. So I thought that that was, you know, a good aspect for them to know how to do, and also we get to see their editing skills, we get to see their camera presence. So I thought it was a good challenge. The only thing that I thought was kind of not as great was that they only got 3 hours to do it. I think that's a ridiculously short amount of time to film and edit a video. Like, I know a lot of people don't understand how long it takes to film and edit videos, but as someone who makes YouTube videos, it takes a long time. So I couldn't even imagine how long it would have to take if I was having to like apply makeup. That would probably take way longer. So I did not think that they got enough time. And I do think that in some instances, like for example, in RuPaul's Drag Race, I keep bringing it up, when they get time challenges, I do think it makes sense in that context because being a drag queen in the real world, you have to get ready in a certain amount of time when you're at nightclubs or you're doing shows. However, when you're an influencer, you really make your own time and your own schedule. So, I mean, yes, you might need to do a video in a certain amount of time, but how long you spend on a video is up to you. So I thought only giving them 3 hours, not great, because I don't think how quick you can film and edit a video is really indicative of your skill as a content creator or an influencer or a makeup artist, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I don't really know. I think they deserve to get more time personally. But anyway, beyond that, Brittany, on the other hand, and finished early on purpose. Like, she literally finished with an hour to spare, which I don't understand why she did that. Apparently she thought it would look good that she finished early, which, I mean, they were already barely giving you enough time anyway. I think that you should use all of the time that they give you. Alrighty, so then when it came to showing off their final videos, we have our 2 guest judges. The first one that's going to be in every single episode is Norvina, who is the, I believe, the CEO of Anastasia Beverly Hills, which is like a big makeup company. She seems to be really good in the sense that she gives really hard critiques because obviously she knows the industry really well, and she obviously would be hiring a lot of influencers to do paid promotion and stuff. So I think her as a permanent guest judge at least makes sense. And we have James, of course, and then we have a new guest judge every episode. So the first episode was Paris Hilton, which I think was super cool because Paris Hilton is iconic and she is known to be like the very first influencer, like the very first social media star. So I thought having her on there was great. I will say she didn't really give any critique, but that's fine. I mean, I feel like in a lot of reality shows, you always have like the harsh judge, kind of like the neutral one, and then like the more chill one. So she obviously fit that role. And she basically was super funny the entire episode. She would just be like,
oh my God, I love your jacket. I love your hair. I love that. You're so beautiful. You're this, you're that. I
thought that Paris was super entertaining. She really added a lot of entertainment to the episode, especially her little dog whose tongue was just constantly sticking out and they kept zooming in on him, and it was the funniest thing ever. So I think Paris and her little dog being in that episode really elevated the entertainment level of it a lot, because I will say that the first half of the episode wasn't that entertaining to me. There wasn't really much drama, which a lot of reality shows have to kind of keep it entertaining. And really during this episode, I don't think that a lot of the contestants' personalities shone through. It definitely did a lot more in the second episode, but the first episode before the judging segment for me felt a little bit flat. But once we got into the judging and we had Paris, I was really enjoying it. Now onto the actual videos. Just to kind of briefly go through each of them. In the bottom 3, we had Brittany. Now Brittany's video seemed kind of awkward in front of the camera and she had cut off the top of her head. And then Benny wasn't too comfortable in front of the camera either from what I could tell, and neither was Gabriel's. The 3 of them were in the bottom. I think I agree with that because the way that they revealed the products wasn't really what the task was asking them to do, especially because they were like reviewing the products when they were supposed to be revealing the products. And I don't know, just the 3 of them felt very flat. The top 3 on the other hand, I thought Indigo was really great in his video. He was super entertaining, seemed like he's already got this influencer thing down. Ashley was not as entertaining, or her camera presence was not as strong, but her video was super duper professional. She had kind of like the B-roll. She's the only one who really followed the task correctly in terms of having a product reveal. The rest of them did like a product review, so I don't think all of them were really paying attention, but Ashley's video was great. And then Kailyn, who was the winner of this challenge, was like a perfect combination of both Ashley and Indigo in the sense that she had that great camera presence and she was also really professional as well. So I definitely agree with her winning. And I thought that was really interesting that she won because when the challenge was happening, she seemed to be the one who was struggling the most because she spent so much time filming it. She didn't really have much time to edit, but in the end, she pulled it together really, really well. Now, when it comes to the elimination was really strange. They each went to their separate rooms and they had kind of like a, I guess like a Zoom call or a Skype call or something. I don't know. I guess James has been on the social distance since before Corona. Like James would say, so-and-so, you're safe, or so-and-so, you'd won. And then they would like get removed from the screen until it was the bottom 2. Like some people saying, oh, that's really cool because they don't have to be like humiliated that they get sent home. But you still see them getting sent home because like everybody can see who's leaving. So it's still the same effect, except now it's digital instead of not. And I think not having them in the same room next to each other really takes away a lot of the suspense that you get in eliminations in reality shows. So I don't really like this idea that much. I like the idea of having kind of person who's leaving give a send-off and say like, this is where you can find me, all that type of stuff. However, I think that a better way of doing it would be if they had the elimination in the normal way that most reality shows have it, where they're all in the same room, they do that. And then the person who gets eliminated gets some time to go and, you know, compose themselves. And then they go ahead and do an outro with James. Because in the first episode when Brittany was eliminated, it was really awkward. He was like, all right, Brittany, plug your socials. Bye, sister, while she's like literally sobbing. So I just think that the elimination, the way they go about doing it is really, really awkward. I don't really know whose idea was that. I would probably rethink that. But anyway, guys, that was my thoughts on the first episode. I did enjoy it. Definitely more the latter half when we had the critiques, especially with Paris Hilton and everything. But I definitely think that it started off kind of on an awkward note and they were still trying to get their footing. So let's get into the second episode of Instant Influencer. So starting off in episode 2, James Charles was in the hotel room. They had to wake up at 5 a.m. and go into the studio to do their makeup. This I thought was, you know, really interesting because obviously being an influencer, sometimes you probably have to get ready quickly for events or whatever. So they had to do their makeup in 30 minutes. And then when they were showing their makeup, they did like a close-up and they didn't retouch it or anything. So I did think it was really interesting seeing kind of like their imperfections and like the texture of their skin and everything. But the person who won that challenge was Ashley, which I think is good. I think she did the best out of all of them. I will say though, it really sucked though because she got a critique about her concealer looking gray or something, but they didn't have the correct shade for her. So I think that's, you know, a little bit problematic. They definitely should have had a huge shade range. I mean, you have enough money to have it. But yeah, beyond that, I'll be honest, I wasn't really impressed with anyone's makeup. I thought they all kind of had something that was like a little bit off. But then again, I don't really know much about makeup, so I guess that doing your makeup in 30 minutes really good is a challenge. Now for this mini challenge, I really did agree with Hannah from Smoky Glow in the sense that I think that this challenge should have had something more to it. You know, he was saying how they're getting ready for an event. Why didn't you have like a little red carpet that they could have walked down? Why didn't you have them get their photos taken or take their own photos? Like, it didn't really have that influencer aspect of it. A lot of being an influencer is digital stuff. Like, even if the challenge had just been like, you know, do your makeup in 30 minutes, take a photo, edit it, but like have it ready to be posted on Instagram, like something like that, just to kind of have like that influencer aspect of it, so it's not just doing your makeup in 30 minutes. So that one was kind of like, it kind of felt like it wasn't really thought out very well for like the overall theme of the show. And I agree with that with the main challenge as well. So the main challenge for this episode was drag. Now, this was super entertaining. I really enjoyed this episode. One of the reasons being is that the guest judge in this one was Trixie Mattel, who is a drag queen that I love. She's really big in the drag scene, but as well as really big on YouTube. She's one of the drag queens that has really taken YouTube by storm. Her and Katya have a show called Ugh. I love her so much, and I loved her as well because in the show, she wasn't just in the judging section. Her and James were kind of doing walkthroughs, and like you got to see them behind the scenes watching the contestants while they're doing their things, giving their commentary. So I thought it was really interesting. I thought Trixie and James had a really good dynamic. So I honestly really enjoyed this episode because of that especially. Now, I will say that I thought having them do drag was really interesting because doing drag is an amazing art form in of itself, but it's not really related to being an MUA. I mean, I understand that it is in the sense of like artistry because you have to do your makeup in a very specific way, but a lot of MUAs on YouTube don't do drag, and also they didn't really do anything that was like influencer related, if that makes sense. Like literally all they did was do drag makeup on their face. They didn't take a photo of it, they didn't film it, they didn't, like, there was no influencer aspect of it. It was literally just their makeup. So while I did enjoy this episode more than the first one because it was just more entertaining and we got to know the contestants a little bit more, I felt like the first episode did a better job at combining the two aspects of the premise of the show, being an influencer and an MUA, whereas in the second episode I didn't feel like there was much influencer aspects. It literally just felt like MUA aspects. It felt like a makeup show, not an influencer show, because the mini challenge they just had to do their makeup in 30 minutes, and then in the main challenge they just had to turn themselves into drag. There was no influencer aspect to it, so I think that maybe that should have been thought out more. But anyway, moving on from that, another reason I felt that this episode was a lot more entertaining than the first one is because I felt like there was a lot more suspense. Now, we had our first bit of like little drama, which is when they had to go ahead and choose their wigs. So Benny said he wanted the pink wig, and then so did Indigo. They both wanted this wig, and then when the buzzer went off, they all ran to the wigs and Indigo got his first. Now, Benny was being really butthurt about it, which I thought was, you know, ridiculous. I mean, I get it's a reality show, but you don't own that wig. Like, you both have equal opportunity to get it, and Indigo just happened to get it first. But obviously the show was gonna milk the tiniest bit of drama that they had because, you know, that's what reality shows are about, and at this point they are really lacking in drama. So that was kind of like the only bit of drama that we got, which was nothing. But Kailyn's facial reaction to that whole incident was really funny, so I did kind of enjoy that moment. You put a bit of spice in the show. It was feeling very vanilla. But then we get into the process of when they're all doing their drag looks. I found this part really entertaining because we had a lot more suspense in the first episode because they were struggling a lot more. Obviously doing drag is a very challenging, and each contestant had something they were struggling with. Moving on to their final looks and the judging. So in terms of their looks, I think Ashley's look was amazing. She had this blue look and I loved it so much. You know, I think the critiques that she got were really valid in terms of like, you know, bringing the lip color to be the same color as the eye color just so that it could have a bit of a separation from the rest of the blue. I think it was Norvina who made a comment about her not standing out, which I thought was really weird because every other contestant had a pink theme to their look, whether their face was pink or their hair was pink. Ashley was the only one who didn't have a pink look. So if anything, she standed out the most to me. And Ashley was actually the winner of this challenge, which I 100% agree with. I think she had the best look out of all of them. And now she has won 3 out of the 4 challenges that we've had in this competition so far. So I think Ashley is definitely the one to beat and the one that's in the lead. And I'm happy about that because she is my personal favorite. I think she is super talented. And although there was a critique of her in the first episode being a little bit more flat, I don't necessarily think that every single YouTuber, sorry, I keep scratching my nose, it's itchy, hay fever. That I don't necessarily think that every YouTuber needs to like be screaming into the camera and be so over the top. In fact, even James Charles, who I do like, I feel like he's a little bit too over the top. So I think it is nice to have more mellow YouTubers to watch. So I really, really do like Ashley. So next up we have Kailyn. I did like her look and I thought it was good, especially considering that it was her first time ever doing drag, but I did think that was a little too much going on. It did seem kind of like over the top, especially with like the yellow and the wig and the pink on the skin, but the judges seemed to enjoy it and it was inspiring inspired by one of Trixie's previous looks. Was it a bit of kiss-assery? Maybe a tad, but I did think that she did well for her first time doing drag. So next up we have Benny's look. I really enjoyed Benny's look. I do agree with the judge's critique, and that is that there was too much going on in his face. I think he could have just removed the flowers and that would have been good. I liked how he had like a pink streak through his hair as like a little FU to like Indigo because he didn't get the pink wig, but I think his look turned out really great. And then we have Gabriel's look. Gabriel's was probably my least favorite look. I thought it was cute, but I didn't think that it was executed very well. He had painted himself pink, but he didn't paint it all the way to like where it was through his shirt, so there was kind of just like a line where you could see a bit of his skin. I just think it could have been executed a little bit better, but I think that Gabriel is really cute. He's a really cute person, but he doesn't stand out amongst the rest of the people in the show. But anyway, moving on to Indigo. And now Indigo is one of the contestants that I really enjoy. I actually really did like his look. I thought it was, you know, quite unique, and I do understand the judges' critiques, but I was really surprised when he was the one who got sent home. Like, I was genuinely shocked. I honestly thought it would have been Gabriel, especially because Gabriel has kind of been coasting through this whole time. I was just really surprised when it was Indigo, especially because the judges were talking about how much potential he had. But you know, it is what it is. Indigo got sent home, but I have no doubt that he will do amazing without being the winner of the show. Already his YouTube channel is thriving. He's really enjoyable to watch. They all are, but especially him. But yeah, Indigo held it together a little bit more than Brittany, so I thought that the outro in this one was a lot less awkward. But that being said, I still don't love the way it's being done. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on episode 2. I think I did enjoy it a lot more than the first episode. I am enjoying the show so far. I do wish that it had more contestants and that it was longer, but you know what, it is what it is. Let's just hope that we get a season 2 and that it is still free. But beyond the actual show, I really enjoy the outskirts of the show, if that makes sense. So I really like how James makes a video relating back to that episode of Instant Influencers, and then for the second episode he did a drag transformation with Trixie Mattel. That was such an interesting video because I love Trixie. And then all of the contestants have been doing their reactionary videos. They're super interesting as well. My top picks are definitely Ashley and Kailyn. I think they're probably going to be the final 2. I'd say my only critiques of the show thus far is the way that the elimination is set up. I just think it takes away from the suspense and it's really awkward. I wish the show was longer and had more contestants so that we could get to know them more and we could get more invested and we had more storylines. And I wish that they put a bit more thought into the challenges to kind of incorporate more influencer aspects, so it's not just them doing their makeup, because that doesn't really make sense with the concept of the show. But that being said, I really am enjoying the show. I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know if you would like me to make more to the other episodes. And yeah, if you've not already, please make sure you subscribe and turn on the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload from me. If you'd like to go ahead and follow me on any of my social media, they are just linked down below, as well as the link to my opinionated merch if you would like to go ahead and cop any of that. So that's it for me in this video. I hope you're staying safe, sane, and healthy during these times. I hope to see you in my next one. And as always, I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye!